Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 38 of the WiSP Sports Desk with me, Chris Stafford.
And I'm Nancy Gillen.
And Nancy is in London and I'm in Virginia. And it is very much the full season here. Is it getting really wintry now? Are you feeling like the real football season over there?
Yeah, definitely. It's getting dark, but it's quite nice as well because it's obviously autumn. So you've got all the leaves changing colour and falling. So I'm quite a big fan of this time of year. And like you said, yeah, it's true football season, isn't it? You've got to have a few games under floodlights in the freezing cold.
Yeah, that's it. You're going to have to get your scarf and your woolly hat out. Did you do that at the weekend? Because I know you had a big international to go to.
Yeah, luckily it wasn't actually too cold. So I went to England, Northern Ireland at Wembley. I didn't have to wear a hat or gloves. So, yeah, thankfully it wasn't freezing. And, yeah, it was a great game. England won 4-0. So that was, really enjoyable.
That's a great result for them against Ireland. Well, we're going to move on to lots of news from around the world of women's sports, as usual. And we're going to begin this week because Jamie Chadwick, the British motor racing driver, has had a terrific season and kind of favourite to take the W Series, but she showed wonderful consistency, so she has to top our news this week, doesn't she? Deservedly.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, she's had a great W Series season and, topped it all off with a win at now that the W Series is held in partnership with the F1. The last race was at the Circuit of the Americas as part of the United States Grand Prix weekend. She pretty much kind of had a perfect final race. I think there were two races, weren't there? So she got back-to-back victories.
Yes.
And managed to surpass her British teammate, compatriot, Alice Powell, who struggled a bit. Alice Powell was probably her main competitor for the title, but she finished 9th and 10th in the two races, so wasn't able to catch Chadwick. It must be said, though, although she was consistent during the season, I remember Chadwick had a really difficult first race. She had technical problems and I think finished really, really far down the standings. So she did have quite a bit of ground to gain throughout the season. But yeah, as we've said, she was always kind of winning or on the podium at least. So a deserved winner. And she is, defending her title. So there's been 2 editions of the W Series and she's won both. And I mean, there's kind of hopes that there will soon be a woman in F1. And I think she definitely is the kind of top contender for that. She's really proven herself and hopefully we'll see her in F1 soon.
That would be thrilling, wouldn't it? Because it's more than 40 years now since we did see a woman on the grid. But she's already a development driver for Williams, isn't she? So that is important that they they're in there, they're visible, and they're getting points every season. And also you've got to, it's who you know in that sport a bit too, isn't it? As well as performance.
Yeah, and I think so for this season, the W Series was partnered with F1 for the first time. And as with what you've said, I think it's really important, that partnership and that they're obviously working together, because when the decision, whenever a woman does go over to F1, those relationships are now already built with the W Series drivers. And you've seen there's a few drivers that are kind of involved in different teams. So Chadwick, like you said, is with Williams. So she would have the chance probably to progress through the Williams team and become an F1 driver for them. That relationship is already established, as opposed to, her having to search out a team or something like that. So it's, that partnership between W Series and F1, I think is going to be really, really crucial in finally getting a women's driver. Well, like you said, it's been 40 years, finally getting a women's driver back in F1.
It is time, and we have so much talent in motor racing. We're watching this season, this series, the W Series, and all the other motor racing that's happening, mainly in Europe, I would say. But there's a lot of talent across Europe, isn't there, amongst women? It always surprises me how many women drive fast for a living.
Yeah, it's I think as well, just because until the W Series, there wasn't much of a spotlight shone on these women, and sometimes they'd just be kind of in maybe like IndyCar or MotoGP or like F3 or F4 and they didn't really have this standalone competition where they could really make a name for themselves. So I think the W Series has really showcased the female talent in motorsport driving, and it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, thrilling times for them. And I guess things are a little bit quiet for them unless they go to the Southern Hemisphere over the winter. But we'll be picking up with them when that series starts again, and also be following Jamie Chadwick in her career. Lots to look forward to there. Well, we're going to turn now to gymnastics. And this story is not a surprise too much about Simone Biles. She's still scared to do gymnastics after what she went through at the Olympic Games. I wonder if she will come back. I know she's doing some exhibitions, isn't she?
Yeah, so she's currently on a, it's called Gold Over America Tour. So it's kind of, I think she's had a lot of artistic license with it. It's kind of an exhibition show that's going around the US it's like fun gymnastics. So she's missed out on the World Championships because of that. But they were taking place last week, I think it was. So she's, kind of focusing on the fun side of gymnastics as opposed to the competitive side. And she has, given an interview where she said, it's since been revealed that she was struggling with this thing called the twisties at the Olympics. And that's where there's gymnasts always have a mental block. And it can be quite dangerous because it means you could go into doing a skill and then your mind, because of that block, your body doesn't complete it properly and you could injure yourself. Biles has said that she's still struggling with the twisties and she doesn't actually twist on tour, and that she's still scared to do gymnastics. So she hasn't obviously, I don't know, there's obviously been questions about, whether she will retire or not, and maybe that suggests that she probably will. I don't know if, she's kind of spoken about she should have retired before Tokyo. She was only kind of staying on probably for the wrong reasons because of what had happened with USA Gymnastics and kind of wanting to hold them to account. Obviously she's enjoying doing the tour, but in terms of competitive gymnastics, it sounds like she's not really there yet. And you do wonder whether she will ever be able to be at that level again. Yeah.
Definitely. And I think I've been feeling this since Tokyo, though, haven't you? Wondering if she would ever come back to full-blown competitive gymnastics again. And she really doesn't have much to prove, does she? I don't think anybody would mind if she did choose to retire now. Wouldn't feel that they've been left wanting from her performances. And if she's doing the exhibitions too, they'll still be able to watch her around the country.
Yeah, and I think as well with gymnastics that they are always young, like they always are. I mean, Simone Biles is 24, which is for a gymnast quite old, especially when, if you're thinking about Paris, that she's going to be towards late to late 20s. And gymnasts are normally, at the heights of their career, kind of when they're late teenagers or early 20s. So in that, like you said, in that respect, she, it's not like she's missing out on the peak of her career necessarily. And she has already kind of proved that she's one of the greatest in gymnastics. So, and that had all these skills and stuff named after her. So it's completely understandable if she wanted to bow out now.
Yeah, very much so. Funnily enough, I was watching some on Twitter, Nadia Comaneci, she posted some little moves she was making at their gym. She and her husband have a gym in Oklahoma, and she hasn't lost her touch. She's going to be 60, I think, later this year, if my memory serves me right. But she hasn't lost her moves. She was doing one or two little moves on the beam, and she, of course, was the greatest of all time. I mean, she really was for the longest time, and still will be always considered the greatest of all time, because she was the first to have a perfect 10, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was. Which Olympics was that? Was that 19? 70?
Was it 76 in Montreal?
Yeah, I think that might have been it. My Olympic knowledge is struggling today.
Never mind. But we may be picked up by our listeners. Somebody might remember, and we'll have to Google it afterwards. So get on the Google machine, Nancy. All right, we're going to turn to tennis now. The Australian Open, of course, is the next Grand Slam that comes around in January. Before you know it, we've got the Grand Slam, we've got tennis, and then we've got the Winter Olympics. But Ash Barty, no surprise here that she's called it quits for the year because of the travel restrictions. We mentioned this before, didn't we? Yeah,
I think it had kind of been in the pipeline. Like you said, no surprise really. So she's essentially giving up a place at the WTA finals, which I mean I think, it's just more kind of bragging rights. It is, you do earn a lot of money if you win that. So I think Barty won, she did win in 2019, and I think she got something like £43 million for winning it. So it's very a profitable tournament, but obviously it's not got the prestige of any of the 4 Grand Slams. And Barty has since gone back to Australia since being kind of on the road since the start of the year. And I think just leaving to the WTA finals, which are in Mexico, and then coming back to Australia and then having another 2 weeks hard quarantine, which is what she's required to do, that would really mess up her preparations for the Australian Open in January. So I think it's quite a wise decision for her to call it quits. And she probably misses out on a bit of money, but she's confirmed to end the year anyway as well, number one. And she's had such a brilliant year that I think it's, completely fair that she wants to rest up a bit and then really go for the Australian Open in January.
Yes, and obviously that's her home patch too. She'll want to win that at home. So I think that's sensible, isn't it? This is so hard with the coronavirus restrictions on travel, and we might as well mention now because we're going to mention it at some point about the travel restrictions, the quarantine requirements for the Australian Open. Because they had said that that athletes had to be vaccinated. That had come from the local government in Melbourne there, Victoria, that they had to be vaccinated to gain entry for the Australian Open. But now they're saying they can come in if they're not vaccinated, but they have to quarantine for 2 weeks. Is that what your understanding now is, the very latest from Melbourne?
Yes, I think it is. I think it's an official confirmation, but I know that an email has been leaked, which suggests that is the case. So if you are vaccinated, you can come in, no problem, and play the tournament. But that period of quarantine for unvaccinated players. I think for the women's tennis, that will affect players like Sabalenka, the world number 2. I know that she's previously said she's not vaccinated. So there are some top players that would be affected by it. I imagine they'd still, as we saw last year, for the last Australian Open, players were still really willing to make that sacrifice to quarantine for 2 weeks to play in the tournament. But I do wonder if it does maybe kind of persuade some of the players who have previously decided not to get vaccinated, whether that's going to change their mind or not. I'm not sure. We'll have to keep an eye on that one, because I think it's going to kind of constantly change depending on how Australia are dealing with COVID and like public opinion and players' opinion as well. So it's one to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, we're going to move to rugby now. 'Tis the rugby season. Wherever you look, it is the rugby season. And I have to say, I don't know if you noticed, but over here last weekend, and I almost went and couldn't in the last minute, but last Saturday, the All Blacks were playing USA on the men's side, the All Blacks, and they really did thrash us, absolutely thrashed us. 20, we did score a try, but it was one-sided. But Ilona Meyer went to the game. In fact, it's unfortunate she was just here and I couldn't get into DC that afternoon. But that was a bit one-sided. But anyway, we're talking about women, and there is news of the World Cup bid from England, but there is also news from the US as well. The US are also putting in a bid for the 2025 World Cup, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite a hotly contested World Cup, which is always great to see, because you want to see countries willing to host women's tournaments. So the Rugby Football Union, who govern rugby in England, they've confirmed their bid to host the Women's Rugby World Cup. Just kind of the normal format where the tournament would be played across cities in England. I think I don't know whether this would be a detriment or advantage, but England did recently host a tournament in 2014. So I don't know if kind of the proof that they can host a tournament will work in their favour, or whether World Rugby would prefer to go for a country like the US, where they haven't hosted one before, and also where it's a point of real growth, I think, for women's rugby, and kind of a new audience, I suppose. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, it'd be great for us to have a Rugby World Cup here again so soon, but then I could also see the benefits of it being elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to have it over here. That'd be fun. You'll have to come over if they do.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be up for that.
Okay, we're going to move to another Commonwealth sport, and that is netball, because you've got the Commonwealth Games next year, haven't you, in Birmingham? So all eyes will be on that on the Midlands next year for these games. And it is, of course, Commonwealth countries, but netball, fastest growing women's team sport in the world still. They've got 6 teams that have been confirmed.
Yeah, so probably the Commonwealth Games, I'd say, apart from the World Cup, obviously, probably the pinnacle of netball, women's netball. I think obviously everyone's quite excited for the tournament next year, especially because England are the defending champions. But they've automatically qualified for the competition anyway as hosts. And they're going to be joined by Australia, the world champions New Zealand, Jamaica, South Africa and Malawi. And they're the top, aside from England, they're the top 6 nations in the world rankings. Another 6 countries will be able to join them. So again, it goes off the world rankings. So that's 7th to 12th. And essentially on January the 31st, they pause the rankings and then determine the last 6 by those. I think the whole process has been delayed quite a bit because of coronavirus. So the rankings were frozen for quite a long time, I think. So it's only kind of recently that they've started playing matches again and teams have moved up and down the rankings. And I think that's why it's they've now had that second date in January as well for the 7th to 12th teams. But yeah, really exciting. And I think the whole Commonwealth Games are really pushing to make it kind of a celebration of women's sport. And netball's quite unique in that you don't have a men's competition. So I think it's going to be and also netball's very popular here. So I think it's going to be a massive tournament. And just having England, Australia, New Zealand, Jamaica, South Africa and Malawi, they're just all such great teams. So it'd be a really competitive tournament.
Supremely competitive, especially with the Australian and the New Zealanders always wanting to, beat there's such England. There's such a rivalry there, isn't there? It's great fun to watch with netball, and the quality of play is just extraordinary now. Very different to the days when I played netball in school. Okay, we're going to move swiftly along to skiing now because, as we mentioned last week, the World Cup season opened in Soelden in Austria, and we mentioned we actually had a quote from Mikaela Shiffrin, the American skier, who was looking at her season ahead with the Olympic Games as well in the new year. She took that title. She was beaten in the first run by Lara Gut-Behrami, the Swiss girl, but she did come back and won that by an absolute margin. I mean, it was, I think her time was 2:07.22 and Lara was 2:07.14. It really, 2:07.36, get that right. And then Petra Filova was in third place, but it is just such a fine margin, and then it is the first race of the season. So, credit to Mikaela coming out the gate with that kind of form. Hopefully she'll be able to maintain it. But it was her 70th victory in World Cup and the 13th in Giant Slalom, and the second in Soelden, where she triumphed in the opening for. She hadn't triumphed, I should say, for 7 years. So that's a great start to the season for her. But I think Lara Gut-Behrami is Lara's going to be the one that might spoil her party this year, because if Lara's on the kind of form she was last year, my goodness, it's going to be a real ding-dong in the GS and the slalom this season. So we'll look forward to that, of course. And I just have another piece of World Cup news, different World Cup opener, and that was in dressage, and that took place in Denmark last weekend with Cathrine Dufour, the home girl. She won. She was Olympian on the Danish team. She won with her 18-year-old partner, Atterupgaards Cassidy. That was the first leg of the FEI Dressage World Cup of the Western European League, and that was, as I said, on home ground for her at Herning, where the European Championships will take place next year. Sorry, not the European Championships, the World Championships, because we split up the World Championships. No longer having the World Equestrian Games as we used to have it. We're going to break them down again to individual World Championships, and they're going to be for dressage in Herning in Denmark next year. Well, she beat her compatriot Carina Cassøe Krüth, and what was interesting, the Danish got one too, but Germany's eventing queen, as we like to call her, Ingrid Klimke, she was actually doing pure dressage, and she finished 15th finished 17th of the 14 riders in the qualifier on her 13-year-old stallion. So it was good to see her there because she was leading for a while. But that's why the Germans are getting so good at eventing, is because they're separating their time between pure eventing and also doing pure dressage and pure show jumping as well. Michael Young is her compatriot is another one that's doing that. So they just polish their skills in pure dressage and pure show jumping, and it's really serving them well when it comes to eventing. So we've got two World Cup openers, skiing and dressage this week. And we have a story from, one of your favourite sports now, the marathon. This is the half marathon. This is somebody who broke the world record in half marathon, didn't she?
Yeah, so Letzenbet Guidi broke the Valencia half marathon by running it in 1 hour, 2 minutes and 52 seconds, which is just incredible, really. I think if probably the average person runs the half marathon in double that. So yeah, she took off quite a few seconds from the previous world record, but it was also her third world record. So she also has it in the 5,000 meters and the 10,000 meters as well. So she's, just an absolute powerhouse. Now holds 3 world records, and just exciting to see what world record she breaks next. Again,
another Ethiopian runner.
Yeah, and I think as well, there's her name escapes me. There's the Dutch middle distance, long distance runner as well. Hassan, I think it is. And I know they have like a little rivalry where they constantly try and outdo each other and break each other's world records. So I think that probably helps as well, having that rivalry going on and having someone that's just as good as running the same distances as you. Yeah. Really spurring them on. Yeah.
Yeah, super competitive. Well done to her for breaking that world record and holding so many records. But she'd probably be thinking, she'll stay away from the full marathon now that you've started running full marathons,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm going for that, for the marathon world record. That's mine. Probably need a lot of help, some Nike shoes and a couple of years, but I'll get there.
All right, that's going to be your second career. Well, I don't think we can finish this week without going back to football where we started, because there is a big game on tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday, which is October the 26th. I know it goes out tomorrow on the 27th when you'll be listening to it. But tonight in the US here is the grand finale of Carly Lloyd's career playing South Korea. And hopefully there'll be goals. She had a few attempts at the goal when she came on as a sub last week in the first of those 2 friendlies against South Korea, but it was a drawless, it was a goalless draw last week. So hopefully she'll be able to make her mark as she leaves what will be an amazing international career, Nancy.
Yeah, really incredible. I think she's the second most capped footballer of all time, men and women's, with 300 plus appearances. And she's scored, a lot of goals as well. A lot of like really crucial goals. I think I was reading today she scored the winning goal in the final at both the Beijing and London Olympics. She's obviously got 2 World Cup titles. And yeah, I think it's quite hard to imagine a US national team without Carli Lloyd, because kind of my whole life, you know, she's always been one of the first names in the US squad. So yeah, I imagine it's going to be quite an emotional and special evening for her, and hopefully they can get the win. I imagine they'd try and get her to score somehow. Probably, like, you know, if there's a penalty or anything like that, they definitely give the ball to her. So yeah, it should. Unfortunately for me, it's I think 1 a.m. in the middle of the night, so I won't be able to watch it. But I'm sure I'll see everything the next day.
I will be glued to it, and it's in Minneapolis, St. Paul, so it'll be a bit chilly up there. I've been watching them training, and they've already got their, full-length garb on and hats and gloves. It's a bit chilly up in Minneapolis, St. Paul, but it will be thrilling. I'm sure they'll give her a tremendous send-off. I would expect she'd do the full 90, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think she'd be probably quite disappointed if she didn't. And yeah, it's her last game, so there's no kind of like, oh, we need to rest her for the next one. So yeah, I'd definitely be expecting a full 90. Yeah,
I hope so too. Maybe put the captain's armband on her again. She's done that plenty of times. But Becky Sauerbrunn, of course, is our captain. But do you think that might be a token captaincy?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think just anything they possibly can. I think she'll get captaincy, goal, hopefully. Yeah, and hopefully a win as well.
Hopefully some penalty. Hopefully, we don't care if it was just 1-0 and Carli scored it. That would be a fairy tale, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the winner. That would be
the winner. Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, there'll be highlights, I'm sure, all over social media tomorrow of that final game for Carli Lloyd here in the US. And that wraps it up for us for this week. Nancy, do you want to take us out of the show?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, thank you for listening. If you'd like to find me on social media, I'm on Nancy_Gillen on Twitter and Nancy Gillen_sport on Instagram. And everything I write is on Give Me Sport Women, which can be found on Twitter at Give Me Sport W. And, of course, WiSP Sports as well. Chris, you want to give everyone your Twitter handle?
That's easy enough. It's everything. We're on social media channels at WiSP Sports.
Great. So yeah, we'll be back next week with even more women's sports news, I'm sure, and probably talking a lot about Carli Lloyd's retirement match. To see you next week.